What episode is this?
11.
Okay. Here I go. I'm going. Why am I getting sweaty? Oh, shit. Okay, don't laugh. And we're back. Episode 111. Shit. Wait, just keep it rolling. It was actually episode 11. Welcome back to the Sincerely Drifting Japan podcast. Oh my god.
Dog.
Okay, no, for real. This is the one. And we're back. Sincerely Japan podcast, episode 11. What's up, guys?
What's going on?
Switching it up. Big D bringing it in. I don't
Damn.
think I'm going to stick with Big D.
That's your radio show name, dude. You're Big D in the morning on your drive. You know, whatever they say.
Yeah, everybody. That's the sound of everybody turning off the podcast all at the same time.
Our ratings just plummeted. Anyways, yeah, welcome back, everybody.
Yeah.
I've never seen a chase run like this in my life! Oh my god! A textbook head-to-head battle!
Welcome to Sincerely Japan, the drifting podcast.
Hope you guys had a good Thanksgiving. Everybody had a good time. We're not worrying about car shit and hanging out with family.
See, I was the opposite, dude. I was worried exclusively about car shit because all the Black Friday deals, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And I need to finish building some wheels, and it's like hit or miss. Sometimes 3-piece or, Wheel Flip or one of those companies will do a Black Friday sale and sell lips and barrels super cheap. So I was like, we're at a Thanksgiving party, and I'm like on my phone looking at like, all right, who's teasing deals today? I see GK Tech. Like,
oh, yeah. GK Tech is going crazy with their shit, man.
Yeah, I picked up the fan. I picked up the clutch fan. Because it was like half off, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna go with this. And then today I got some lips, or I got some barrels rather. But yeah, I was exclusively worried about car stuff. I'm like, all right, I got some money to play with. What's going on with the 240?
Yeah. Well, we talked about it a little bit offline, but I've pretty much come up in my head of the idea of trying to get a drift missile when I move to Korea, a drift missile in Japan. So the way it's looking right now is that I'm going to just sell the cars I have now, get a little bit of money in savings, that way I can hopefully find something cheap. Because for the listeners out there that might not know, I'm going to Korea, but I could take a plane ride to Misawa, for free, basically. So I think it would be a good idea for me to get a car in Japan and then be able to travel over there and do what I do, or try to do what I do.
Yeah, that would be tight. That would be super tight.
So,
Darius hit me up. Gosh, was this last weekend?
Yeah.
And was like, "Hey, we need to do an episode just about Ebisu," and that's kind of where he and I are both at because, with that being the last. So for those that don't know, D1 just had their round 6 last weekend, round 5 and 6, I think they did back to back, and that was the last time that they're going to be running D1 at Minami, which is a track that they've been running for decades, and it's a big deal. I don't stay up for sports. I don't stay up for F1. I'm not that guy. Are you that guy? Do you stay up for F1?
Yeah, I'm an F1 guy.
I've got neighbors and friends, and they're like, "Oh, I was up till 3 a.m. because they're running F1 in fucking Europe somewhere."
Well, I don't have to do that. So
that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
And then like the 2 races they have in our hemisphere, it's like, yay, it's a normal time. Thank you.
Yeah.
But this was the first time that I ever stayed up to watch D1 live. Like normally I don't care enough and I'll watch it the next day. But this was the one time. And so I stayed up till I think 1:30 or 2, and I was chatting with a couple of our fans, which was pretty tight. Because I was kind of posting stories as we were doing it and had people, be like, "Oh, did you see that run?" or whatever, and that was cool.
Yeah, my phone was vibrating off the hook. I saw it.
You're like, "Guys, shut the fuck up."
Well, the race was actually the Formula One race. Now you mentioned it was on, and I was like trying to, because it's actually getting really good this year. But that's another podcast entirely.
True. True. You got to find a different co-host, dude. I don't give a shit about F1. And not by, I don't know, not by choice. I don't purposely hate it, but
different strokes for different folks.
right. But no, I mean, that's a big deal. That's a historical, racing event in my mind. And I was like, this is just so significant I mean, so much has changed, the track is the same, but the cars have changed. The tuning styles have changed, everything. And somebody had brought up a good point to me while it was happening is they were like, if you go back and watch these guys in like 2005 versus how they drive now, it's completely different. And I thought that was so fascinating to me. And it was a good point. I mean, Jess and I went there for D1, in 2017. And
I'm so jealous of you.
We went back for Matsuri 2018.
Mm-hmm.
And so that track does hold a soft spot for me. Yeah, it's tough, man. I mean, it's tough to see something like that go, but
Well, so one thing I wanted to mention, when it comes to drifting, there is no real history. There's no nothing you can look back and be like, "Oh, that was a great event of this year or that year." Okay, let me rephrase.
Right.
There is history, but there's no pedigree like how you have other racing sports like F1, for example. There's tracks that have history like that where famous drivers died or they're in famous cities, but since it's a much more mainstream sport, it brings that pedigree. But drifting doesn't have that. Most drifting tracks are old tracks used for other purposes or street tracks,
Right.
And I'm thinking D1GP was at Odaiba. It's just like a street thing that they put together. I think Minami was one of the few tracks that's known for drifting, or it's part of a family of tracks, but as far as D1GP goes, it's known for that. And to have that go away, you're losing some drift history. This is kind of like, the holy grail of drifting. This is like the Nürburgring for drifters, basically.
I think so too. Yeah, I mean, that's a good way to put it. I mean, when you're saying that there's no historical moments in drifting history, I think that's pretty accurate, but I would say Daigo's jump drift in his JZX 90, was it his 90?
I think it was a 100. You're talking about the red one?
He did it in a practice car. I think the original video is in like a silver or white JZX 90, because he did have the red one too. Maybe that's, I don't know. You might be right. Yeah, but that video was like one of the most viral drifting videos. And I would argue that is like one of the most infamous drifting moments, period. That's something that everybody has seen and been like, holy shit, that looks nuts.
There's only two moments like that I can think of. There's that one from Daigo, and then was it the Kawabata, the perfect drift, where he did that reverse entry? Those are the only two I can think of where it's like, if you're into drifting, you've not probably 100% have seen those.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, as far as D1 goes, or Minami specifically, I would say that's it. I think Naoki has done similarly viral things, some things that everybody has seen in terms of his mid-drift overtakes that they do at Mahon and all the train craziness that happens there. I think that's just as large, but it's just a different level. That's more of a grassroots team-based level. So that's a little bit different. But yeah, I mean, I think the jump drift put Minami on the map for a long time. And, most people, when they think of Ebisu, they think of Minami. They don't think about Toge course or North course or school course or whatever. So yeah, I mean, that's it, and so as far as D1 goes, you're right. I mean, Minami has been around forever, and it was the most constant thing about D1.
Well, I'm pretty sure the first ever D1 event was at Minami. I think in the live stream, Noriara was talking about it. This was the first D1 event they had was at Minami.
Damn.
So
yeah,
it's definitely historical.
It is, for sure. And I'm actually surprised. I mean, given all of the damage that they had during the earthquake, I'm surprised that they managed to put it back together, because wasn't a big corner of turn 2 or 3 destroyed in that earthquake?
I'm not sure, but I can look real quick.
I want to say when Ebisu got torn up, Minami had a chasm basically during like in between turns 2 and 3.
Yeah, it looks like I don't know which circuit this is, but yeah, there's like a gigantic chunk of the track just
Right,
hanging
dude.
off the side.
I'm almost positive that was Minami. And
Yeah.
when we went there, when you're walking, and also another thing is when you're watching on TV or you're watching a live stream, you don't realize how nested in the mountains Minami really is. When we went there with Donnie, he had his car hauler, right? So we had 3 cars. We had a K truck, the JZX100, and the 180SX loaded up, and then Quan and I driving his shitty like Carina or whatever the fuck it was. And right when you go through the main gate, which most people have probably seen, it says like Ebisu Safari or something like that with all the zoo animals. It is like no joke, like a 30-degree incline to get up the mountain, and then you're doing like a 180 to come back around this hairpin. And Donnie basically burnt out his clutch trying to get his car hauler up this thing, dude.
Yeah, that sounds so sketchy, dude. I drive a semi truck from time to time at work, and that sounds like a nightmare.
It was, dude. I was like, holy shit balls, man. And so it's so hilly, and when you're running and when you're walking down the Ebisu as a spectator, there's like just landslide remnants, you know, from previous earthquakes and stuff. So it's a very like volatile area.
Yeah.
And Minami was not super easily accessible, especially for older people. It was just a tricky venue, I think. And I'm not speaking for the owners, dude. I'm just saying in general, you know what I mean? It certainly was not the ideal place to go because it's just hard to get in and out of.
Yeah. I'm looking at a little bit of like a historical article right now. I did not know that it was founded by freaking was it Nobushige Kumakubo. That guy. I think I recognize that name from that orange. I think back in the day he drifted like an orange. I think it was like an Evo or a Subaru. You know, he's from Team Orange. I didn't know he was the founder of that track.
I guess
or
I
like
didn't.
Ebusu circuit altogether.
Yeah. I wonder if the circuit and see, obviously Darius and I are not experts. We are merely bullshitting here. But I don't know if the circuit or the zoo came first. Because when we were there for, God, it was
a fucking zoo.
Yeah, there's a whole ass zoo there. When we went there for Spring Matsuri, dude, we were like driving race cars through the parking lots to get to other tracks and shit. And one of the parking lots you have to go through is, God, and I forget, is it West Course? I think is the one that's way far away. Dude, it's been a long time, but you have to drive through the safari parking lot to get there. And I just remember so many people were there just for the zoo, and then you're just like rolling through in race cars, and they had no idea. Like they were just like, you know, breaking necks, like what the shit are these like race cars doing?
I'm just imagining you're trying to like check out the giraffe exhibit or whatever, and you just hear like cars in the background banging the rev limiter. I feel like that would like ruin the experience.
I feel like normal day to day it's probably fine, but during the Matsuris it's you know obviously hectic. But yeah, so I wonder which one came first. I guess I never really thought about that.
I didn't even know there was a zoo. I'm looking, it says that there's a spa in that area too.
I 100% believe it. Dude, Ebisu's in the middle of nowhere. It's in like a really small town. But yeah, it is super hilly and mountainous, and Minami itself as a track has a lot of elevation to it, even if it doesn't look like it. You know, I mean, you've even coming down the wall after the jump is all downhill. It's
Did you drive it or did you ride with someone?
Yeah, I drove it, but I didn't go, you know, balls out on that main D1 line. It's fun, dude. It takes a lot of power for that line specifically. The rest of the course even is pretty like big sweeper. And so it's relative, like I wouldn't say it's high speed, but it's certainly not like tight like school course is. And so, yeah, I mean, it's just a tricky track. And so we've got a bunch of talking points here. We haven't hit any of them yet. But shoot, we're already kind of there. So let's talk about, we're going to go kind of out of order here, Darius. Because I've been alluding to it and then stopping myself over and over again. So I was reading a statement from Kumakubo-san, and he says South Course D1 has come to an end. Started 45 years ago as a dirt course to a motocross course